All right, back in the lab this evening. Booger check. Booger check looking good. Looking great. All right, first things first. Had a misfire yesterday on the PBX 9007. I want to reattack that again, so we'll just do a bigger charge. We didn't have any kind of decomp using R salt with the polystyrene, so I want to do that again and up the mass a little bit. I guess that brings me to yesterday. We did an R salt sample. We did a urea nitrate sample. Urea nitrate is basically, it's not going to explode. It's not that great of a threat, right? It's pretty safe. It's especially safe considering that urea nitrate, if you have something catch on fire, urea nitrate doesn't detonate from fire. Now, that is not true for other explosives. So I guess what I want to talk about, because we're going to start loading a lot of interject materials into these PBXs now. We're getting to that point where it's about time to begin. So I just wanted to give a warning on the method that we're using. So what we are doing in these videos, what I am doing, is a abbreviated version of the wet slurry process for producing plastic explosives. The reason that it's abbreviated is because, number one, we are not desensitizing the explosives using something like water drowning or something like that, which is a crucial aspect of where the actual production method comes from. The other aspect of risk is that there's no standoff employed here. There's no automation employed here. I'm doing everything by hand. So that's inherently, really dangerous depending on the circumstances, but you're creating a risk because the rule of explosives, of dealing with explosives in pretty much any capacity, is you just ask yourself the question, what happens right now if this detonates? Right now. It's not going to detonate right now, but sometimes it does. So that's the question to ask. And if your answer is, I'm going to lose my fingers, I'm going to lose my hand, I'm going to die, I'm going to kill somebody else, then it's probably the wrong procedure. And I would definitely encourage you, if you analyze whatever you're trying to do in that way and get used to being creative. There's ways that you can there's ways that you can automate intelligently for cheap. You can use extension cords and plug them in and out for turning something on and off. You can run an extension cord out into a hole that you dig. You can dig a 3-foot hole and run equipment in it so that if a detonation happens, it's just all in the hole, nobody gets hurt. Your level of creativity is really the only limitation on how far you can pursue safety. Now, safety is really important, but it's really misunderstood in explosives because people tend to explosives, if you think about it, just as a phenomenon, they're pretty scary because there's nothing that you can do about it. There's no control. Society doesn't have any control over it. Explosive wars come out of the air, you can't really ban explosives. They're unstoppable. They destroy all, armor and structures and, everything can be destroyed by explosives. So it's just this wild, destructive energy source, which could always be a problem if it's applied in the wrong way. So society tends to look at explosives as, something like where they like to tuck it into bed and say, okay, this is under control. They've got their licensing, they've got their safety procedures, they've got, they're university educated, they're using top of the line equipment. And this is really a false sense of security. The most gifted chemists and technicians from wartime Germany and USA have had horrendous accidents. They're the topmost experts in their field. I mean, I would argue that if you technically added up all the people that are killed by bombings in isolated terrorist incidents, if you took that death toll and added it all together, I would imagine that the death toll from just industrial manufacturing of explosives is way surpassed that. There have been tens of thousands of people killed by government contracts for, military explosives at production facilities. So it's a major error in outlook to look at this channel or look at me as some type of explosive expert. They don't exist. I mean, perhaps explosive experts, colloquially exist, the notion of it, but they get killed by, the high velocity, high pressure detonation, just like anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're completely ignorant to it or, everything about it more than anyone else in the world. It's still just going to, tear you up. So when I'm working on this stuff in these videos, just understand that I would never advocate or, claim that this is some kind of safe procedure to produce plastic explosives. It's not. This is not the correct way. This is not the professional way to produce PBX. There are inherent risks here. If you have an explosive and it's in a solvent and it's not desensitized, and then something happens and your solvent catches on fire in your lab, well, explosives, depending on what's in there, most explosives are going to get sensitized by fire. And then a lot of them will explode by fire. Now, obviously for this video, we don't intend to have uncontrolled lab fires that like lead to detonation or something like that, but it could happen. So just understand that, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but if something happens, like an accident or injury or death or something like that, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this, and if you do it, you should, understand that that's a very real consequence, potential consequence of, doing this. Of course, the most critical thing to remember is to wear your high-vis safety vest for safety. All right, so I made the PBX with the R-Salt. The process for that was identical to what we did before, so I won't bore you with that because it was uneventful up until a point where I had the camera not running, and it's probably a contaminant. I don't know if it was interaction between, one of the materials in the PBX, but it started to decompose and gas off. It was really slow gassing, so I grabbed it and took it outside to let it gas off, and it stopped gassing, and this is what it looked like. Anyway, in light of that, I just think that, R-Salt is probably not the best way forward in terms of, I was hoping it would be a cheap energetic for a cheap PBX, and it is. It's just there's some quirks to it too. When this happened, all the R-Salt wasn't even mixed in. So it was like a really low R-Salt content PBX, and I just took what was remaining and rolled it up in a ball and then destroyed it. So this is what that looked like. So that was a low R-Salt content PBX 9007 with a bunch of solvent still in it. The solvent had only been in there for 10 minutes. So it was definitely wet. It detonates, it's a little bit lower order. Thoughts on that are that, the PBX 9007 with the polystyrene, it definitely densifies whatever explosive filler you're using. So R-Salt got considerably more dense than when it started out as a loose powder in this PBX, which is, obviously the point of one of the points of PBX, that and, holding it in a form to be used for a specific application. So I'm not saying that's surprising. I'm saying that, all the normal things that you would expect of a PBX that take place at the R-Salt, and, the PBX 9007, really, it should just be used with less reactive, less unstable explosives. So I guess we'll work up a shot with Petin. Let's do a PIB PBX, energetic one. Let's use Petin as the filler. We'll try the C4 alternative PIB composition. We'll use Petin as a filler. And then this time we'll contrast the toluene breaking down the PIB versus heptane. We'll use heptane as a solvent. Heptane is used in the industrial process for manufacture of C4, so it should be the most efficient. I believe it's probably more efficient than hexane. But anyway, we'll try heptane, and I'll show that. We're only going to do a 20 gram Petin fill, so the PIB content is 460 milligrams. DOA is 1.16 grams. All right, we got 1.168. And then for oil, we're going to use a SAE 10W30. This one, it's only going to get 350 milligrams in there. All right, here we go. Wish me luck, boys. 346, I'd say that's good enough. All right, let's get our oils in here. This DOA, one of the technicians told me, hey, if you put DOA in there when you're dissolving your PIB, it'll assist, which makes sense. It interrupts the bonds between this high molecular weight PIB, the DOA, it's a plasticizer, so that's how it functions. So it helps to, it just assists in breaking down the PIB when you start using a solvent. Now we're going to use hexane. We got 1 gram of hexane in there. I wonder if that's good enough. Let's put it on stirring and find out. So we got 1 gram of hexane in here with DOA and oil, and then we'll probably need a little bit more. All right, we now got 3 grams of hexane in there. I'm gonna add some heat. We're just doing light heat, so we're nowhere near 100C. Start breaking down this PIB here. Okay, now it's warming up. We're getting close, but there's some of it jumping out and getting stuck on the side of the Coors vessel here. So I'm gonna add some more hexane until that doesn't happen. It's got kind of a fruity smell too. Temperature on this is 68C. We're gonna try to get those chunks up there stuck. Try to get those off of there, get them dissolved a little bit. There we go. Maybe we'll turn down the heat. I'm definitely, I'm cooking off the heptane here, so I'm gonna have to add some additional solvent. Okay, we're back in action. The bubbling is definitely heptane boiling off. So just watch your heptane level to, keep enough solvent in there to break this stuff down. It's breaking down pretty well. It's not as fast as I had hoped, honestly. Evaporating the solvent off will obviously be, dramatically quicker. Okay, we still got the PIB breaking down in the heptane. I guess if you're going to do that, just, be aware that you need a lot of heptane. I thought it was not going to be very much. I've never used heptane. Another rat glue comp. We're going to use Pyrodemon's method. I think he said it's okay if I say his name. He won't be offended, so he's not a weirdo. So we're just going to go into the classic pet and fill. Going to do a 20 gram charge so we can compare. 4.413 is what we got. We need more than that. Okay, 5.15. That's what we're going to settle at. Heptane is still going. I don't know. At the availability of heptane, I think I'd prefer toluene just because it's so widely available. There doesn't seem to be much of a performance increase to justify the cost and the trouble of going through getting it. Okay, let's drop this rat glue in here. I've already got some. This is my bath of toluene that I was dipping my fingers in. It's just got an arbitrary amount of toluene in there. It's probably like, 5 grams maybe. Attempt to drop this in there. Oof. There we go. Got it. Okay. Let's add a little extra. Some people, they mentioned using acetone. You could use acetone. So, I think on the rat glue, I would assume that it would break down in acetone. Maybe not. You have to try it. But the only problem with that is that if your filler is like Petin, well, Petin breaks down in acetone too. So it's going to change your crystal morphology. And then when your solvent's evaporating off, your Petin's going to pop out of solution. So you won't be able to control the morphology. That might not matter, practically for your intended purpose, whatever that might be. Okay, let's put it on here. Let's give it some heat. Stir bar. There's the PIB still going. Looks like we pretty much got our foil off already, so I'll try to see if I can get that out. Rat glue is now completely broken down. It's pretty high temperature, 53. It's already completely broken down. This I've only got going at 42, just because I was cooking off so much heptane, getting tired of refilling it. The oil going into this, the mineral oil, is only 65 milligrams, so that's not much. So I'm just going to measure these drops to get an idea, and then I'll just drop it directly in there. So 3 drops is 100 milligrams on this. 2 drops is 0.06, so we need about 2 drops in there. Okay, we're going to start adding in 20 grams of Petin. We're going to do it with a stir bar at first until it gets out of control with stirring. And when it gets thick, we'll pull off the bar. All right, we're thick. May need some additional solvent in here. Yeah, we're going to add a little toluene. Okay, I just added some toluene to make this easier to wet process. Definitely a lot easier now. We're going all in now. All in. Okay, so that process is pretty easily for a dirty, wet process. I mean, this is pretty well mixed up. We'll dry out the solvent, and then we can just continue to hand knead this. That's a majority of it. Got another chunk in here. All right, I'm going to get some solvent and get the last of this out of this jar. All right, I had to step away for a minute, and in that time, the PIB came out of solvation because all the solvent evaporated. So I got new heptane in there. We are going to redissolve the PIB again, and hopefully it doesn't take as long this time. I'm not sure what I think about heptane as a solvent for dissolving PIB. I guess I don't like it. I don't like it as much as toluene, at least. So in the meantime, rat glue comp is basically dry. I'm going to let it go a while longer, but it seems like it's done. So rat glue comp can be very fast, which I guess that's one of the positives about it. Okay, so we're going to do a PBX 9007 again. We're going to do a pet and fill this time, so it's a 90% pet and fill, 9.1% polystyrene, and 0.9% DOA. I already got the DOA in this little Coors vessel right here. I've got 2 grams of polystyrene here. We're going to break it down with some solvent. We're breaking this down with toluene, by the way. Toluene. We'll let that continue to break down for a minute, and then we'll add in the 2nd gram. Breaking this one down. Now the really good thing about this PBX 9007 so far, I guess there's 2 qualities of it that are not really, I guess I shouldn't say redeeming, but that make it stand out, are its hardness. You know, the fact that it's not moldable, which is, you know, in a lot of applications you would need that, and you wouldn't want a putty. The other thing is that this is the easiest one to produce for sure. I mean, the materials are easy, but it's really easy and quick to break down and to charge it up. You know, it's a very fast PBX. The other thing to mention about PBX 9007 is that it's the only one so far, at least using toluene solvent. It doesn't require heat to produce this. You can produce this cold. All the other ones I have difficulty seeing how you could, I mean, other than doing like shear mixing, machine mixing, it'd be really difficult to mix them up without the inclusion of some heat. Okay, so let's charge some petting. All right, 20 grams of petting. We're going to start charging this up. And hand stir, we're going to use wood. We're using these bamboo skewers from the grocery store. Starting to get a little chunky. Pen's lower density than RDX. The comp is spec for RDX. Let's go all in. Oh mama. I think we might need some additional solvent. Let's get something on there. There we go, that helped. Now we're just mixing it all up, making sure that the plastic and the DOA has access to the entire comp. Nope. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make a mold for this. I'm going to use this little Dixie cup to attempt to make a mold. How do I do this where you can see it? Let's see. Right there. Okay, now we're going to make a cap mold. This is just an empty cap. We're using it as a form. All right, that's pretty good. So the Dixie cup here is to hold shape, and the foil is to keep the Dixie cup from melting because it's full of toluene that we have to burn off. So now it's going on a hot plate. We're heating, by the way, this is heating right now at 65°C. Okay, so we're pretty well dissolved in the PIB and the heptane. We're going to start adding petin. The temperature of the heptane is about 42°C. Okay, we've reached the limitation of this stir bar. We're going to pull it out and go into hand stirring for the rest of it. So there's a lot sticking to the bowl, but we'll be able to pull all that off by hand once it dries. So we'll just let this pile dry, and we'll let this bowl dry. They should dry out pretty quick because it's heptane. Okay, real quick, we've got a failure of this Dixie cup. Could be disastrous. I'm going to try to contain it, pull it out, and put it into a different cup. So we're going to try to contain this first. Okay, contained. Got it in a paper cup now, so that's good. So now that spot's contained, it's not going to go into contaminating these other samples here. So that's mostly toluene and the Dixie cup material itself. Now I'm going to get another layer of foil and mold it and drop this into that. Okay, here's the new mold. We're going to try to do this quickly. I'm not sure how well this is going to work. Decent. Okay, and we'll just return it. Okay, so the heptane is basically immediately gone from the remnants of this bowl. So let's just scrape this out with our finger. Okay, well, I may like heptane. Yeah, that feels like C4. Maybe a little thinner than C4. It feels like it needs oil. It's really dry. I don't know. We'll have to see. Okay, so my thoughts on today's lab. Uh, all of these materials work really well with Petin. In processing, it seems almost easier in the consistency of the material, the finished product. It seems more usable, at least, at first. We'll see what happens when they're actually dry and we pull them off. But I liked it. Heptane was a little bit frustrating. If you step away for a minute and you evaporate everything off, that can be a little annoying. So in that regard, I don't like heptane as much as toluene, but the heptane is burning off so quick. I can see why there's a serious advantage in processing using heptane. I used a whole lot of solvent in the PBX 9007, so we'll see how that works out in terms of evaporation and hardening. How long it takes? It may take a long time to harden. Overall, pretty nice lab. It's actually a lot nicer to work with the HE fills than using like a sugar substitute. I couldn't really imagine wasting that much material on working up a load. I guess in the first place, I should have just gone with Pyrodemon's comp in the first place, since we already, you know that it works. You've seen what it is. But I just wanted to see what, it would be more ideal to have a higher Petin fill. So I just wanted to start there, see what the difference is between this and PIB, and work the way down to a practical fill that's actually going to work. Really interested to see the properties of that when it's totally dry. All right, it's the next day. We've gone over 12 hours of drying. We're at 65C on the temp. Polystyrene comp is not completely dry, so that's going to take a while. It'll be worth it to check out another solvent. The only, a real benefit of polystyrene comp is that, it's readily available in materials, so we wouldn't want to get out of a solvent that isn't available in a store, like in a hardware store, so acetone would be the other one. So we'll try acetone. I think acetone will probably burn off easier. So I'm going to scrape these up, and we'll put them on a piece of glass. All right, first we got the rat glue comp. This is Pyrodemon's comp. Looks crumbly at first. I think it'll probably pull together a little bit when we mold it. It's also hot. Okay, I'm going to say that's a little bit too dry at that ratio. He's got video of his comp, and it's obviously not like this, so I don't know what the difference would be. Maybe I'm using a different method. I'm using a wet slurry. Maybe that has something to do with it. Could also be that, I don't know. We just may have to adjust some of the proportions. It's almost there. We'll be able to blow it up. Let me try to cool it and see if it behaves a little differently. Okay. We'll see how that behaves on cooling. Okay, so now we got the PIB. PIB. Oh man, it seems a little crumbly. Ooh, it's hot. Oh, it's consolidating a lot better. A little bit stringy. Very squishy. Very moldable. Mobile. Very much like Play-Doh, which is not really what we're after for emulating a C4, but definitely usable. It's hot, so it's going to be more mobile being hot. So let's cool it down and see how it behaves. Yeah, so it's consolidating better. We still got a little bit of cracking going on. And I'm not sure if that would require more DOA or more processing oil. Some more SAE10. I don't know what, haven't learned yet which of those materials affect which property. Yes, it's a little crumbly. Well, I think the lesson here is that if you're going to make a really high quality PBX, you should use sugar fill. Just kidding. I don't think that's probably not the lesson. I don't know. Should I add something to this? Should I add some oil? Maybe we'll add some oil. Let's put it in a dish, let it cool off. Okay, so continuing on with the examination here. This would be the inert one with urea nitrate fill. And this one feels great. Like this feels like some homemade C4. That feels really good. It feels almost identical to a dense hard Play-Doh, or almost like a sticky tack. Oh, it's firming up. We're still crumbly. Oh, it's firming. Okay. So we're firming. Maybe we need a drop of oil more. Yeah, that's better. This is pretty good. So when it gets really hot, it becomes a lot more mobile and also becomes kind of crackly. It also becomes kind of, you start to have the form crack up a little bit and drop off pieces. But if it cools down, it firms up significantly and becomes more usable. I mean, that's very usable. It's exactly like Play-Doh right now. I'd imagine if it went longer, it'd probably end up more like the inert sample, more like the inert sample. So that's exciting. That's good. I'll just keep working this for a minute in my hand. Yeah, I like it. Okay, let's put this in a ball. Whoop. I think it needs more oil. Let's put some more oil on that. We'll put a couple drops, work it in, see what happens. For now, let's look at this PIB. Oh, very soft. Almost a little too soft. Doesn't feel dense enough. When I squeeze it, I can see a crack open. So, I don't know. I guess maybe we'll put some oil on both of them and see how that affects it. Because if we can blow this up right now, but this isn't, I wouldn't pack out a homemade C4 that was in this condition because of the obvious cracking that goes on when you handle it. It feels really good, but not with the cracking. That crack is whack, bro. All right, let's put some oil on this and just see how it affects it. Okay, I put a couple of drops on this PIB C4, and it didn't really improve. A couple of drops of oil. Let's do a couple drops on the Catchmaster. I'll do 4 drops. Work it in. So far, the Catchmaster is more workable and better. It's crumbly, so I don't know. I guess you would up the. Maybe it needs to up the binder content a little bit more to really get it. Well, I don't know though. Maybe more oil will do the trick. Maybe we're just lacking some oil. 5 drops, add it in. Seems better. Still, it's cracking though. Oh, gosh darn. I wonder what would happen if we added some DOA to this. Maybe we should experiment with that. I mean, because at this point, this is requiring some tweaking before it would be usable. Really usable, just because it's so. Look at that, almost there. So the only thing to really do with this for now is just do a couple tests on the properties and then blow it up. Let's try a couple drops of DOA. All right, we're going to try to add some DOA and just see what the effect is. All right, there's 3 drops of DOA. We'll try that first. See what happens. It seems like it's making it less firm, which isn't really what I wanted to do. I didn't want it to be less firm. I just want it to be more malleable. I think we need more binder content. I don't know, is that better? It's hard to say. Still cracking, maybe we should try some more. Just go even further and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fold it over, press, work it in. I think it is improved a little bit. I don't know. I don't think we should add too much more. I think we're kind of getting a limited effect. But see, it seems like it's cracking less. I mean, it still cracks. It still cracks. It's not flexible enough. I think it just needs more binder. But it is softening up. I don't know. Should I add more? It's tough to say which direction to go. I mean, I guess it's not going to affect whether this detonates or not if we add more, so maybe we should just add more, see what happens, and then blow it up. All right, some more. Okay, yeah, it is sort of having the effect of hydrating a little bit and makes it a lot softer. But honestly, I like the firmness that was originally there. It was just a little bit too dry. So I think the answer to that is maybe binder content. I don't know. I mean, that's usable. That's usable. It's just, I don't know. It's different than C4. You know, this isn't actual C4. It's not PIB. See, that's better. Like, see the edges? There's less cracking. So I guess you can get some smoothing. You can get a smoothing effect using DOA. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I guess this comp, the rat glue comps, can benefit potentially from the inclusion of DOA. We didn't have any in there originally, right? We're just using mineral oil. So yeah, this is just like, I mean, this is almost exactly like Play-Doh now. And its consistency is almost exactly like Play-Doh. All right, well, let's work on the PIB with some DOA. That was 7 drops, by the way. It's so crumbly. I think we need more binder in this. Yeah, this is just falling apart. Well, I'm kind of surprised at that, frankly, that this PIB, I mean, the sugar cookie one was, I mean, here's the sugar cookie. Look at this. Days later, just been sitting out. It's just total moldability, soft. I mean, this is like perfect. You know, like if you had this is very useful. You could do anything on this. You could form it in any shape. This is the inert one with sugar load, obviously. Doesn't break up, really stretchable. You can stretch it. And the only thing I can imagine is the difference is that this doesn't have enough PIB in it. That's the only thing I can imagine. It's getting really soft now. Well, too bad on the PIB there. I'll talk to some of the other technicians to see what they're doing on their, because there's some guys that are using the exact same PIB, see what their ratios are. We'll try that. All right, let's do a burn test on a sample and just see how they burn. All right, this is a PIB plastic explosive with a pet and fill at 91%. Okay, this is rat glue formulation. It's got a pet and fill somewhere around 80%. I think it's a little less, 79. Notice a dramatic difference in the residue left over. This is the PIB, and this is the rat glue. Way more residue left over for the rat glue. We're gonna fire this this rat glue comp from Pyrodemon, and it's actually really nice after it sits for a little bit. This is very workable. It's dense feeling, it's firm, feels workable and shapeable. I think this one's good to go. Okay, so that test was successful. We got penetration through the boat trailer. It actually went projected into the ground. Oh, I'd say it's a good 5 inches into the ground, the hole. Interesting. Okay, final thoughts of this lab day. The PBX 9007 is still going. It is not dry, so I put a cover on it, and then hopefully that'll kind of homogeneously heat it more to drive off the toluene. It's probably worth it trying it with acetone to see if it evaporates quicker, if we can get a finished product more quickly with acetone. The PIB C4 analog with Petin, it didn't have enough binder content, and that's likely due to the lower density of Petin and the morphology that I was using. It's just, it's powdery, so it ends up being not enough binder. The first signs of that were, stringiness coming off and the whole thing crumbling apart. It was really unusable. It seemed to almost get worse after it sat. So at first it seemed like maybe you could knead it in the hand and it was going to get improve in its firmness, but that wasn't the case. It just got more and more crumbly. And it basically became unusable. I mean, to detonate that would have been like, it'd be like detonating a pile of Petin. Now that's in contrast to the Pyrodemon mix with the Catchmaster rat glue. It performed great. The handling was fine. I thought it was, it's different than C4, but it's very usable. I really like that comp a lot. So I got to think about what we're going to do for the next lab, but I'll review everything. I've got to replenish some stock on fillers here, and then we'll get back at it. I did get some industrial EVA glue sticks from Home Depot, so I guess we'll try that and see if the VA content is different, if it behaves different or whatever. But this is, this was in a 5-pound load, so I guess we'll try some. We'll try to approach the EVA comps again.